Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you're doing well. It's time to look at a list. What is said by Complex.com to be the 20 best rappers in their 20s right now. If you're at all familiar with the history of hip-hop music, you know the genre is often framed as kind of a young man's game, even if that's not always actually the case in reality. Especially since this year, some of the biggest releases and most relevant happenings in the genre have been centered around or have been spearheaded by artists who are deep into their 30s. But still, with that being said, it is often the case that those who kind of make waves in their teens and 20s in the genre often end up becoming the Jay-Z's and Kendrick Lamar's and Drake's of tomorrow. So it should be interesting to see who Complex thinks, who exactly is at the forefront of things, at least in terms of being age 20 to 29 right now. Who do we have at number 20? Cash Cobain. Feel like a lot of this guy's push and influence comes more on the production side of things and the support he has given to other artists through his beats. And while on that front, I know he's been massively influential in terms of helping to facilitate new trends and sounds in the world of drill and more club-centric hip-hop, which I think is actually making a pretty big return right now. Again, his footprint is more as a producer than a rapper. If we're going strictly by his rap ability, I feel like there's got to be at least 20 young up-and-comers who can out-rap this dude. So why he's number 20 on a best rappers in their 20s right now, I don't know. Number 19, Jack Harlow. I have a hard time believing that there aren't 20 rappers out there more interesting than Jack Harlow right now who are in their 20s. And while it is true that he is 26, it kind of feels like he's been around forever at this point because he kind of has, and Jack Harlow has also had many opportunities to kind of define himself and redefine himself in the mainstream limelight as well. I feel like we've heard just about everything that Jack Harlow plans on doing as far as his rap abilities and his pen game goes. So even if there is an argument for Jack Harlow to be placed on a list such as this, even if it is at a very low spot, throwing him in here just feels really unexciting because I feel like we've heard everything from Jack Harlow we're going to hear, even if he does manage to squeeze out 4 or 5 big pop rap hits before he hits the age of 30. Also, the article says he's been oddly inactive this year, which hurts his placement on this list. He shouldn't even be on the list if he's doing nothing. Give it to somebody who's actually making some waves. I don't know. Isn't that Mexican OT guy in his 20s? Put him on here. He's at least got some flow and a bit of personality and goes at the mic like he's hungry. At number 18, we have Bossman D-Lo, 26. Complex says he is the breakout street rapper of the year, which, of course, you're going to have somebody filling that lane in a list such as this, which makes sense. At number 17 is Baby Keem, who, I think could rank higher in terms of the potential that he has, but I understand if he's not really up there because I think he's really yet to prove why he deserves the mainstream spotlight spot that he does right now. Obviously, he has some bangers out there solo. He's done some great tracks with his cousin Kendrick. He's had some standout features here and there, and the guy has displayed that he is creative. He's eccentric. He is definitely coming at hip-hop music with a very unique and interesting delivery and style that makes him stand out. But whether or not that's actually going to manifest in a super high-quality album that is on the level of some of the classics that we've seen, the modern classics that we've seen over the past 10 years, we are yet to see, because his last record, while good, was also a little rough around the edges. Still, I don't really mind a placement from Keem on this list. However, what I do mind is him landing underneath Youngboy Never Broke Again, which I feel like we're also kind of suffering from the Jack Harlow problem here, but worse, in terms of a severe lack of creativity. In fact, I would say at this point, Youngboy Never Broke Again is creatively bankrupt, and for the most part is just randomly riffing over whatever beats he can get his hands on and just filling his projects out with these just wash, rinse, repeat songs that have really no rhyme, no reason, no direction, no structure, no vision, nothing. He's a prime example of how easy it is to make the most generic and thoughtless music out there and just just put it out onto streaming platforms as quickly as you possibly can. I feel like there's not really any reason to watch or follow anything that he's doing past this point, because he's certainly not showing any signs of like switching it up or taking a risk or doing anything interesting. So the idea that he's one of the best rappers out there in their 20s at the moment, in my opinion, is laughable, even if he does have a following. At number 15, Sexy Red, who, look, I mean, I'll admit on a level, I am a Sexy Red apologist. I think she makes catchy music. I think she is hilarious. Much of the time, she's clearly being super goofy, clearly being super over the top, clearly embracing her sexuality in a way to where it's going to be grating for those who think women should look and be portrayed in a certain light. Again, I like a lot of these aspects of her and her persona, and I think she writes some very catchy music, but is she a great rapper? Not necessarily. I mean, I feel like having her on a list such as this, I don't have an issue with it, but would I rank her as high as 15? Probably not. At number 14, we have V's, whose more talked about projects and singles as of late I have been trying and listening to, but honestly, I've been having a very hard time kind of seeing my way onto the V's train, mostly because I feel like his delivery and his demeanor is so soft and so understated that it just comes across to me as sleepy and very underwhelming. Maybe with more time and another standout record or two, it will finally click for me, but I don't necessarily have any kind of issues outright with him landing on such a list, I suppose. I mean, there certainly is merit to a more subtle approach to rapping and delivery and lyricism, but I don't know if he's doing it for me quite as much as maybe a Ka or somebody like that, or even a Pink Sifu by comparison. Okay, at 13 we have Doechii, who, if we're going merely by like lyricism and rappability and just overall talent on the mic, should be a lot higher, even if, like, you know, her latest record wasn't the best. However, outside of my circle in the hip hop world, it's been very well received. Like, a lot of people have been loving Alligator Bites, and for the most part, as far as like bars and bars go, she's really like carrying the torch on TDE at the moment. So I feel like 13 for her is kind of lowballing it, and it's really kind of giving me the sense that this list is based more on hype. Even the blurb itself that she's on the list because she dropped a legitimate album of the year contender. Well, why isn't she higher? At number 12 is Ken Carson. Absolutely not. Really, every Cardi acolyte on his Opium label is like just a B-plot rage artist who exists in Cardi's shadow. There's really no reason to pay attention to anything they do unless you're in the Cardi cult, because their lyrics are boring, their beats are uninteresting. Why he's on the list? Because people mosh to his music. People mosh to everything now. Who cares? Number 11, Lil Uzi Vert, age 29. You know, it's kind of interesting how many artists on this list are like landing this close to 30, because it's really sort of making me think, like, are we not replacing talent? Are more artists leaving through the revolving door than coming in? Not that I think you need to stop making rap music or any kind of music for that matter by a certain age, but the fact that there are quite a few artists on this list right now that wouldn't technically qualify next year is, I don't know, maybe a wee bit concerning. And while I do think Uzi Vert is at a very interesting point in their career right now, considering how out there and experimental some parts of the recently released Pink Tape were, also the way that they just like had Philly club stuff like coming back with a vengeance out of the blue, that's most definitely something of note. But again, if we were to be ranking anybody here based on rap ability, why is Uzi landing this high? I mean, Uzi is pretty notorious for not being the best lyricist out there. And also, oddly, the blurb here frames Pink Tape as being a kind of underwhelming release. Okay, number 10, we have Chief Keef, who, yeah, again, somebody who's 29. And while Keef has been putting out some interesting work as of late, and it's been cool to, you know, kind of hear him in some recent interviews being a bit more, guard down and honest about his process and how he's gotten to this point from obviously the beginnings of the drill scene back in the day. He's almost at like veteran status now. The guy's obviously only making music at this point just simply out of a passion for doing it. He's not at a point in his career where he has to be doing this. Like, again, it's cool that Chief is still being creative and doing his own thing and even taking on like more production responsibilities on his records. At number 9, Lil Baby, also 29. Are people not coming up? Are there not people coming up? And again, Lil Baby's catalog is mid. As far as rapping and writing goes, he's a one-trick pony. He should not be this high on this list, and if there was a bit more digging going on for better younger talent, I don't even know if he should make the cut. And also, if we're taking into account rappers who are just like 29, why not Denzel Curry? Is he not 29 right now? Joey Badass? Is Joey Badass not 29? Are they going to be on this list? I'm guessing no. Lil Yachty at number 8. I would put Lil Yachty on this list, considering, you know, again, the significance that he had in the SoundCloud rap scene and the way that he's been able to hold on artistically and creatively over the years. Like, he's most definitely still relevant. He has lyrical ability when he wants to show it off, and he's undeniably a creative guy. I mean, I don't know if I would put him this high, but he should be on this list. Glorilla at number 7 is another kind of an overrate, in my opinion. However, with that being said, as far as women in rap goes, I feel like she is one of the brightest and most relevant that the genre has to offer at the moment. And chances are she's going to continue making bangers and continue taking the spotlight for a number of years past this point. Following this at number 6 is Lotto, who I think is being placed at a very interesting point here, especially since, again, her latest record wasn't super hot. And on top of that, I feel like she's kind of also hit that Jack Harlow hump in terms of, we know what she does. We know what creatively and stylistically rap-wise she's all about. There aren't really a whole lot of interesting ideas or surprises coming around the corner for Lotto. Not to count her out commercially, because she certainly does know her way around a banger. And look, lyrically, she certainly held her own during her particular year as a XXL freshman. But that side of her talent isn't really often what people go to her music for. And chances are that her relevancy will eventually wash out with the wave she kind of came in on. At number 5, we have Yeet, which, sure, I think he should be on this list, but maybe not this high in terms of, like, rap ability. But with that being said, like, out of everybody who's been listed so far, I think he's made one of the best, recently released albums, as 2093 is a really cool record, and aesthetically, I feel like is kind of the next logical step for, this kind of world of progressive, psychedelic, experimental trap music that's obviously borrowing a lot from the likes of Travis Scott, but Yeet, being a younger and more adventurous artist, is kind of trying new things with it. Certainly newer and more refreshing things than like what Playboi Carti is doing right now, which is, releasing a single that sounds exactly like a Future song. Who do we have at number 4? Megan Thee Stallion, who, yes, should be here. She knows how to write a song. She can rap. She can write. She just had a very solid new record that has been doing very well for her commercially, and I think is one of her best creatively so far. But with that being said, another artist who in a year is not going to qualify for this list. At number 3 is Central C, which, I mean, I could understand him being represented here in terms of just like the way he's had a strong grip on basically what is kind of like the international lane as far as hip hop goes right now. Like, he's one of the few rappers from the UK that people actually listen to and care about over here in the US. With that being said, like, his flow oftentimes is really unadventurous. It is repetitive. Lyrically, he's had some of the worst bars I have heard floating out there in the last 5 years. And often as a feature, he is pretty boring, pretty uninteresting, and brings very little to the table. So while I get commercially he's going crazy right now, I just don't think he should be number 3 on like a list of the best rappers in their 20s. At number 2, we have Doja Cat. And it's funny to see Doja on such a list because it's really been only until recently that she has started to really like posit herself more as a rapper on her records, because the few that she had out before that, she was flirting more with just like kind of becoming more and more of a pop artist. And now she's like, nope, I'm gonna rap, I'm doing rapping. And look, I think that made for a vast improvement in terms of like the quality and versatility of Scarlett. Some of her best tracks to date, I think, land on that record. I mean, her profile and her impact is huge. I hear up and coming artists copying her constantly, and chances are we're not going to see a whole lot of artists that have the same like rap background and appeal while simultaneously really nailing that pop crossover success too at the same time. So, I mean, you know, top 5, I'm not really averse to for Doja Cat for sure. But at number 1, we are getting hit, of course, with Playboy frickin' Cardi. Maybe I'm being a bit too negative and dismissive, but look, the singles have not exactly been interesting, especially his latest one. And again, obviously, this is just kind of proof that this list is not judging at all by rap ability, lyrical ability. I mean, as far as influence and impact goes, Cardi in a top 20, as far as rappers who are in their 20s, I guess it makes sense, but like he doesn't have the material there, at least not lately anyway, to justify a number 1 placement. Once again, no Joey Badass, no Denzel Curry, who are quite a bit better at rapping and writing than most of the list here. No underground or abstract representation like in the case of Mike. Also, no Babytron. Nothing like that. None of those talking, punched in Midwest Detroit boys. There's definitely some talent here that's not really being recognized or talked about for sure. Let me know what you thought of this list down in the comments below. I'm sure you will. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Complex Top 20 Rappers in Their 20s. Forever.